Well, hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Stanley Stouter. I'm excited to be with you guys today. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different as I'm actually interviewing John Rappa. So I could tell you a lot of different things about John Rappa, but one of the first things I want to do is I want to kind of give you guys almost a little bit of his rap sheet, which you'll find is kind of ironic here in a minute here. But so John Rappa is a two-time Officer of the Year. He is an Employer of the Year, Detective of the Year, Public Safety Award with Major Case Squad, with the Major Case Squad. He's won Case of the Year, and he's been in law enforcement for over 24 years. So you might be watching this video, you might be asking yourself, what does that have to do with selling homes, selling insurance, selling whatever you might be selling out there today? Well, one of the most interesting things about John is he's actually also my father-in-law. So one of the funny things here is John and I have had many conversations where we've dove into this together, and we've talked about how incredibly similar our careers are.
Very similar.
It's absolutely eerie to see how close our careers go, and the things that he used when he was a homicide detective to get people to tell him the truth and to confess to crimes, and the things that I used right when I was selling homes, and now as a sales manager with my sales team to help drive sales and to help get sales when I was on the floor. So today I'm really excited to be diving in, and without further ado, John, thanks so much for jumping on the show.
You know what? I got to be honest with you. I think this is a great idea. I'm excited to be here. I'm really glad you came up with this. And we've talked about this for a long time. We've talked about the similarities between what you do and what I do. And when we sat down, when I first met you, and we really discussed this and we talked about it, it was mind-boggling how close our worlds were together.
Yes.
So, and we actually talked about doing this one day. So, here it is, man. We're doing it.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So anyways, guys, so really the topic of the conversation today is for the salespeople out there, we're going to be diving into reducing resistance, right? And so what do I mean by that when I say it, right? So what I'm talking about is somebody walks into your sales office, you're making a cold call, you're making calls to help drive sales, and every one of us salespeople run into resistance, right? When welcome and rapport, in the discovery phase, when we're closing, you're going to run into these moments where buyers are not going to want to tell you why they're there. They're not going to want to tell you what they're actually looking for. So in this talk, we're going to be diving into it, and I thought, well, who better to speak to someone who has gotten confessions out of people that literally is them going to prison for sometimes for the rest of their life. And one of the benefits that we have is we're selling a product that people want. Right. John is selling something that nobody wants, and that's to go to prison. So John, I know it almost seems kind of comical, but I think as we could dive into this conversation, people are going to really see these similarities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's start off. I wrote down some questions here, and one of the ones I want to start with is, how do you break down those walls when you're bringing in somebody into the box, their walls are got to be sky high?
Yeah.
What are some of the techniques that you've used to help criminals or help people break down those walls?
So it's funny. And we talk about criminal interviews, right? Guilty criminal suspects. But a lot of the techniques I use, and they're not really techniques, it's just a way that I've learned to talk to folks. I do it with not just criminals, and suspects, but with victims and witnesses as well. Because believe it or not, victims and witnesses can be very reluctant at times, right? Witnesses, you got the whole, I don't want to get involved, I don't want to put my name on paper, that sort of thing. That happens all the time. And then with victims, sometimes victims call the police, but they're still, some victims are still reluctant to go forward, because they know that it's going to be a lengthy court process, and maybe they're scared of the suspect in general. So whether they're a victim, a witness, or a suspect, I have to, all of us in law enforcement, to be successful at what we do, especially at interviews and interrogations, we have to learn to bring their resistance level from here to here.
Right.
And I teach interview and interrogation throughout the country. And one of the things that we talk about and that I harp on my class is initially getting, whether they're a victim, a witness, or a suspect, getting their resistance level from here to here.
Okay.
And I think, and this is where, our worlds are so similar, I think number one is the ability to connect with people. Right. For me, as a homicide detective, as a former homicide detective, the ability to sit down across from somebody and the ability to connect with people from all walks of life. I'm talking doctor, gangbanger. I'm talking CEO of a company, drug dealer. You know what I mean? People from all walks of life and crime of all walks of life. So you have to be able to connect with people. And, one of the things that I talk about, number one, one of the first things I do when I walk into the interview room, into a box, is I really truly believe that your first impressions are visual.
Right.
They're not verbal. I read a study, and we were talking about this earlier. I read a study where a study that I read just recently was that people make their first impressions of you, your first impression of them, within a tenth of a second.
Jeez.
And think about that. Think of everybody you see walking down the street. You automatically, I don't care who you are and how open-minded you want to say that you really are, you automatically judge somebody by the way they look. It's just the way it is.
Absolutely.
So imagine being a police officer, and we have enough to contend with in 2021, 2022, 2020. We have enough to contend with. The media may not be a friend to us, right? So just think about that for a second. So one of the things that we have to do, that I do when I walk into the box, is I watch my demeanor, right? I smile if I can. Now, if somebody's a victim of a traumatic event, like a sexual battery or something like that, I'm not going to smile. But I'm going to have an empathetic demeanor.
Yeah.
I want you to think about a police officer walking up to somebody, your typical RoboCop.
Right.
Whip out their pen and paper. So what happened?
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to be there, right?
Yep.
You're automatically going to shut down. You're going to be like, this guy's a jerk. You know. By the way, I may cuss a little bit. It's who I am. So if I slip it out, I apologize. But you're immediately going to go, that guy's an asshole, right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
people shut down. We're cops, right? So one of the things that I teach is smile. And if you can't smile, at least watch your demeanor. Have that empathetic attitude, like you really care to be there.
Right.
I think that goes a long way. That's the first impression they're going to have of you. The second thing I do is I shake everybody's hand. Now, I get it. COVID's got people scared, and I understand that. So I'll offer them a quick fist bump.
Right.
But I always do that. I always shake their hand, and I always give them or do a fist bump. And the reason why I do that, I think it's that connecting. You did a ride along with me.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Absolutely.
And so we actually had this discussion. And if you remember, we had this discussion, and coincidentally, and we talked about, when cops, somebody reaches out to shake a cop's hand and they kind of stare at them, it doesn't matter if it's a police officer or salesperson, it doesn't matter.
Right.
In life, in general, you go to shake somebody's hand and they stare at you, the first thing they're thinking of, this guy's something else.
Disrespect, right? First thing comes to my mind.
All the way. So imagine, as a police officer, somebody reaches out their hand and you kind of stare at it. So you witnessed it.
Yeah.
We talked about this. And we're on a traffic stop, backing somebody up. And at the conclusion of the traffic stop, the guy walks up to me and goes, "Hey, man, I want to thank you. I respect what you guys do." And he was talking like that. And so you got a guy that you just pulled over, and you formed a good relationship because, he was they were cutting him loose, no tickets, nothing like that, and stuck out his hand. So I shook his hand. You saw that. And we had small talk for a few seconds, right? Yeah. Then he walks up to the lead officer, sticks out his hand, and what does he do?
He didn't shake it back.
No, and what did the guy say?
He goes, "Well, you're too good to shake my hand, right?"
That's right.
Yeah,
right.
I remember that.
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
day and night. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Absolutely. So there's nothing wrong with being human, and you gotta make that connection.
Yeah.
So I really truly believe, immediately watch your demeanor when you walk in the box. Same thing in the sales room. Watch your demeanor, right? And I'm sure you'll touch up on it. The second thing I make sure I do is I shake their hand. I want to let them know I'm no better than you. I'm a human being, and guess what? I'm one bad mistake away from being where you're at, because we're all humans, and every human makes a mistake. I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a cop, a truck driver. A salesperson. It doesn't matter. We're one bad mistake from being on that other side.
Yeah.
Treat them with respect. Treat them like a human being, right? So I truly don't want people to think that I think that I'm better than them. So that's something else that I do. And one of the third things that I do, I apologize.
Sure.
I apologize to everybody.
Wow.
Victim, witness, or suspect. I apologize to folks. It's something that I didn't do years ago, but over the years, I started to develop this habit. Apologize. And what I mean by that is if I get with a victim, right, and and I want them to feel a little bit more comfortable talking to me. I'm the big bad police, right?
Right.
Got my scary badge and my scary gun. If you watch certain news networks, you know how scary we are, and we're mean individuals. But I want to eliminate that. So when I walk up to a victim and I say, "I'm truly sorry that you're going through this tragic event. Right. I'm here to help you out. Feel free to tell me, when you feel comfortable talking to me. I just want you, something to that effect." And I apologize to them.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I get them from here to here, like that. I do the same thing with witnesses. "I'm sorry that you witnessed this traumatic event. I know this sucks." And I'll go back. Let me take a step back. When I introduce myself,
Yeah.
I introduce myself by my first name. I don't say Detective Rappa. I don't say Corporal. I say John. "Hey, man, I'm John." I might say John Rappa. I might remind them I'm a detective with the city, but my title doesn't go first. It's John. It's informal and non-threatening. I truly believe that 100%, right?
Yeah.
So, "Hey, I'm John. How you doing?" And then, of course, I apologize. "I'm sorry that you're going through this traumatic event. I know this has got to be hard on you," right? I'll do that with my victims and witnesses.
Wow.
I'll do it with a criminal suspect. And people say, what do you mean a criminal suspect?" I'll apologize to murderers, right? I worked homicide for many years. I worked violent crimes, right? I worked robberies. To robbers, to child pedophiles. I'll apologize to everybody, and the reason being is they're going through something, right? And my job is to get them from here to here.
Yeah.
Is to reduce their resistance towards me. And they're used to RoboCop. They're used to what the media tells us that we are. When they see somebody humanize them and say something, even to a bad guy, even to a guilty criminal suspect, hey man, my name's John. I shake their hand. I'm really sorry that you're going through this. I know this has got right. And you'll be surprised how I get them from here to here.
Wow.
Now, how does that relate to you in your profession?
Yeah,
those first 3 or 4 things.
So first off, I love the fact that you said you